The first sound didn't scare me, because it didn't make sense. It came through the trees like a wrench dragged across a car hood, metal on metal, slow and angry, with a rhythm that almost sounded careful. I sat up in bed and listened until my brain tried to label it as something normal. Wind, branches, a raccoon messing with a trash can. Then it happened again. Not a crash, not a bang. A grinding, like two old gears turning without grease. Lauren rolled over beside me, half asleep.
What are you doing?
Another grind rolled in from outside. Long, slow, like the metal was flexing at the end. I didn't answer right away, because saying anything made it real. The sound came a third time. Same pitch, same pace. Like something taking its time because nobody could stop it. Lauren's eyes opened properly. She stared past me at the dark window.
Is that the swing set?
That snapped the picture into place. The county put in a small playground near the edge of our road last summer. Cheap plastic slide, 2 swings, and a merry-go-round bolted into the ground like a giant metal coin. It sat in a clearing, where the trees backed off just enough for the moon to spill in. We'd taken Emma there a few times, usually late afternoon, when the mosquitoes weren't actively trying to drain her like a juice box. The merry-go-round always squealed a little. The bearings were already failing. This sounded like that, except more forced. I checked the clock, 2:17 a.m. I tried to keep my voice calm. Too calm. Probably teenagers. Lauren sat up, hair a mess, face sharp now.
At 2 a.m? In the cold?
The grinding stopped. That should have been relief. It wasn't. The quiet felt like something pausing to listen back. Then the metal squealed again, and there was another sound underneath it, like a shoe dragging on gravel. Lauren's voice dropped.
You hear that?
Yeah. I slid out of bed, pulled on jeans, and grabbed my flashlight. Practical. Simple. Just a noise, check it, go back to bed. That was the lie I told myself so I could move. I didn't grab the gun. Not because I don't own one. Because I didn't want to make this situation real enough to deserve it. I stepped to the window. Outside was a black wall of trees. Our porch light painted a weak yellow puddle on the dirt. The playground was down the road and around a bend. I couldn't see it from here. Another long grind drifted in. Then a squeak that sounded like a strained breath. Lauren swung her legs over the side of the bed, already committed.
Stay here.
I turned, surprised by the direction of the command. She didn't wait for my reaction.
If you go out there and something happens, I'm not sitting in bed waiting for it.
That was Lauren. She didn't do panic. She did decisions. I nodded once, tight, unhappy. Behind me.
Obviously.
We moved through the house quietly, like the floorboards were going to tell on us. I cracked the front door and cold air slapped my face, hard enough to sting my eyes. The smell of wet leaves and old chimney smoke rolled in. The grinding stopped again, like it had heard the latch. That bothered me more than any sound. We stepped onto the porch, then down to the dirt drive. My flashlight stayed angled at the ground. The beam picked up stones, tire ruts, a strip of dead grass where my truck's oil leak had murdered everything it touched. We reached the road. The woods on both sides sat still. No wind, no rustle. Just the heavy, listening quiet you get when the world is holding its breath. Then the grinding started again. Louder now, closer. It was coming from the playground. I called out, not brave, just stubborn. Hey! The grinding didn't stop. We rounded the bend. The playground sat empty in moonlight. Frost-silvered grass, black silhouettes of equipment. No headlights, no car doors, no laughter. The merry-go-round was turning, slowly, steadily, like someone had set it in motion and never let go. The platform rotated with a stiff, uneven glide. Every few seconds it made that grinding complaint, bearings chewing themselves to dust. I swept the flashlight beam across it. Nothing on it. No hands on the bars, no feet, no hunched figure hiding low. Yet it kept turning. Lauren's voice came out thin.
Evan?
I walked closer because my brain refused to accept what my eyes were showing. The merry-go-round was old metal, not the modern plastic-coated kind. Circular platform, central post, 4 spoke bars. Flaking paint like dead skin. It turned at the speed a parent would push for a child. Slow enough to be safe, fast enough to make someone laugh. But there was no laughter. Just the grind. And a weird sense of weight. Like it was loaded, but invisibly. I angled the flashlight under it. The shadow beneath was too clean. No dangling legs, no animal crouched under the lip. The platform rotated as if something heavy was walking along the top, one step at a time, using the bearings like a spine. I tried one more time. Softer, like volume would make it human. Who's there? The merry-go-round slowed. Not like friction was winning. Like something decided to let it slow. It crept toward a stop. Then, just before stillness, it shifted a fraction of a rotation. A tiny correction. Like a person adjusting their footing. Lauren grabbed my sleeve.
We're leaving.
I backed up, keeping the light on it, waiting for a face to pop up with a laugh. Waiting for an explanation that didn't involve anything supernatural or stupid. The platform turned one more quarter rotation by itself. Then stopped perfectly. And the grinding ceased. The silence felt manufactured, like a door gently closed. We walked back fast but not running. Running would mean we believed something was behind us. Inside the cabin, I locked the door, then the deadbolt, then the chain, even though the chain was basically decorative. Lauren leaned against the wall and stared at me like I'd brought something home on my boots.
Tell me you saw somebody.
I didn't. Her jaw flexed, and she nodded once, filing it away under something she'd punish later, with logic and coffee. A door creaked down the hall. Emma's small voice floated out, sleepy and uncertain.
Daddy?
I forced warmth into my face and walked to her doorway. She stood there in pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit by one ear, hair sticking up like a dandelion puff. I crouched.
Is the park hungry again?
My breath caught. Lauren appeared behind me, silent. I kept my voice steady, calm, ordinary. What do you mean, hungry? Emma's eyes tracked past me, toward the front of the house.
It squeaks when it's hungry.
That's just rust, Em. Emma shook her head, slow and serious.
Not rusty. Hungry.
Lauren's voice stayed careful.
When did you hear it?
When the moon is on it, it goes around and around like it's looking for the right spot.
I tried to swallow, and it didn't help.
Who told you that?
The lady did.
Cold crept up my spine.
What lady?
The lady with the long arm. She stands where the trees start.
I tucked Emma back into bed, like fabric could solve this. I told her no talking to strangers, no going outside, no park. Emma stared at me with blunt, little kid honesty.
She's not a stranger. She's from the park.
I turned off her lamp and stepped into the hall. Lauren didn't whisper. Her voice was flat, tight.
We need a camera.
My brain grabbed onto the task like it was a rope. A trail cam.
Put it there.
In the morning. Lauren nodded once.
In the morning.
Daylight didn't make me feel better. It just made me feel dumb for being scared of a playground. The clearing looked harmless in the morning. Chipped paint, thin grass, picnic table that always looked damp. The kind of place you'd expect to find a lost mitten and a candy wrapper, not whatever had been out there last night. I drove down with the trail cam and a ladder in the bed of my truck. My hands were steady because I refused to let them shake. The merry-go-round sat still, innocent as a broken thing. Up close, it looked worse than I remembered. The platform sagged slightly on one side. Underneath, the metal housing had fresh gouges, clean bright scratches through old paint and rust, like something hard had bitten into it recently. I ran my finger along one groove. Not rust. Exposed metal. Pressure. Heavy pressure. I mounted the trail cam on a tree at the edge of the clearing, angled straight at the merry-go-round. I tested it twice, walking in front, waving an arm. The little red light blinked its silent agreement. Before I left, I pushed the merry-go-round once. It spun with a tired squeal and slowed to a stop like normal. Normal was a fragile word now. Back at the cabin, Lauren watched me unload the ladder. Her eyes didn't leave my face.
You saw marks.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah. Emma played on the floor with her rabbit, humming to herself like yesterday never happened. Lauren lowered her voice.
She told her not to step on it.
Or Emma made it up. The words came out, but they didn't have much weight.
Evan.
I know. We did the day anyway. Pancakes, laundry, cartoon voices, everything loud and normal to drown out the memory of metal grinding in moonlight. Night came back like it had been waiting. I didn't sleep. Lauren didn't either. We lay in bed with the same posture you get in a hospital waiting room, pretending you're resting while your brain spins in place. At 2:11 a.m., the grinding started again. Same sound, same pace, like it had an appointment. Lauren's eyes opened instantly.
It's back.
We went to the window. The playground was out of sight around the bend, but the sound carried clean through cold air. It went on, steady as breathing. We didn't go down there. I'm not proud of it, but I'm also not dead. After nearly 10 minutes, the sound cut off clean. Not fading, not slowing. Just stop. Like a hand lifted away from metal. Lauren didn't move.
It knows when we're listening.
I wanted to argue, but my mouth wouldn't commit. Morning arrived like a flimsy excuse. I drove down and pulled the trail cam card with fingers that tried to fumble. The clearing looked normal again. The merry-go-round sat still. The trees stood polite and quiet, pretending they hadn't hosted anything. Back home, I slid the card into my laptop. Lauren stood behind me. Emma played in the living room, close enough that I could hear her rabbit's cloth head thump softly against the floor. The first clips were nothing. Rabbits. A raccoon. A deer stepping into frame and sniffing the merry-go-round, like it was deciding whether metal could be eaten. Then the 2:11 clip triggered. Infrared, black and white, empty clearing. The merry-go-round still. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the platform moved. Not a shove, not a jerk. It began turning like a motor had engaged. Smooth at first, then stiff, then smooth again. The bars cast long, sliding shadows across the grass. The platform dipped. Just half an inch, but it was unmistakable.
Did you see that?
I nodded without taking my eyes off the screen. The platform kept turning. Every time it reached that same spot, it dipped again. A repeated pattern. A footfall. Another clip triggered immediately. Turn. Dip. Turn. Dip. Patient. Tireless. Like something circling the same thought.
There's nothing there.
I know. The next clip triggered at 2:18. The platform was still turning. Still dipping. Then the dip got deeper. The metal flexed visibly, bending down at the edge like it was taking too much weight. The audio on the trail cam was garbage, but even through the static I heard a faint stretched squeal. Bolts complaining. Lauren's hand clamped my shoulder.
Pause.
I froze the frame. At the very edge of the platform, where the dip was deepest, there was a line that didn't belong. A shape so thin it looked like a shadow that forgot how to be flat.
Zoom.
I zoomed. The shape moved down. It stepped. A limb pressed onto the platform, bent the wrong way, with an extra angle where there shouldn't be one. The metal deformed under it like a soda can under a boot. The foot wasn't a foot. Narrow. Tapered. It placed itself carefully, like it understood the merry-go-round's weakness and wanted to exploit it. The platform kept turning, carrying that limb along for a full rotation. At the edge of the frame, something else shifted. Just enough to suggest the limb was attached to something standing just out of view. Lauren's breath hitched. Sharp and ugly.
No.
I rewound. Frame by frame. There was no approach. No body crossing the clearing. No movement through the trees. The limb simply appeared, coming down from above the platform like it had been waiting overhead. Like it had been hanging there, invisible.
It's not an animal.
No.
And it's talking to Emma.
That was the part that made my chest tighten. Not the limb. Not the metal deforming. The fact that my daughter had a name for it. I called the county with the voice I use when I'm buying lumber or arguing about a bill. Flat. Practical. No nonsense. I didn't say haunted. I didn't say limb. I said structural damage and safety hazard. I mentioned fresh gouges and possible vandalism. I gave the exact location and asked when someone could get out there. The woman on the other end sounded bored enough to fall asleep mid-sentence. Sometime this week. Sometime. I hung up and stared at my phone like it had betrayed me personally. Lauren didn't wait for my report. She was already packing a bag for Emma with brisk, angry motions.
Okay, we're going to Megan's.
Today,
Now.
I wanted to argue, but the video was still open on my laptop, paused on a bent limb crushing metal like it was soft. Okay. Emma wandered into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes.
Are we going to the park?
Lauren's smile snapped into place like a mask.
We're going on a little trip, sweetie.
Can we stop at the park first?
My stomach clenched. I kept my voice gentle. Not today. Park's closed.
Because it's hungry?
I crouched to her level and forced calm into every word. Because it's broken. Emma tilted her head.
It's not broken. It's waking up.
Lauren lifted her and kissed her hair too hard, like she was trying to press her back into safety. Emma's gaze slid toward the front door.
She doesn't like when you call it a park.
Who doesn't?
The lady.
Lauren's hands tightened around Emma.
She says it's not a park. It's a mouth.
The words sat in the room like a dead thing. We moved fast after that. Shoes, jacket, rabbit, keys. I carried the laptop to the table and shut it like closing the screen could close the problem. We got Emma into the truck. Lauren buckled her in. I slid into the passenger seat. Lauren froze with one hand still on the seatbelt latch, eyes locked past the windshield.
And
I turned toward the bend in the road. Through thin trees, the clearing was visible. The merry-go-round was turning. In daylight. Slowly, steadily, like a clock deciding what time it was. The platform dipped in the same spot, deeper than before, like something heavy was already stepping on it. My skin went cold. Emma's voice floated from the back. Small but certain.
She knows we're leaving.
I stared hard at the tree line. At first, nothing. Then a shape resolved where the trees started. Tall, thin, too still. It wasn't stepping out. It was simply present, like it had always belonged there and the world had just remembered. One arm hung too long, ending near its knee. The elbow bent wrong, the wrist bent wronger. The whole limb looked like a mistake that had hardened into bone. Lauren slammed her door and shoved the key in.
Go.
The engine coughed once, coughed again, then died. Lauren tried again. The starter clicked like a broken jaw. The merry-go-round kept turning. The thin shape at the tree line shifted. Not toward the playground. Toward us.
Daddy?
Emma's voice went hushed. Urgent.
Don't let her touch the circle.
Lauren twisted the key again. Click, click. And then the grinding started. Not from the playground. From somewhere much closer. From under the truck. Metal on metal, slow and angry, like something was dragging itself along my undercarriage, tasting bolts with its weight. Lauren's face drained.
Evan, what is that?
I leaned forward, staring at the hood like I could see through steel. The grinding rose, joined by a low, stressed groan, metal flexing. The truck rocked once, subtle but undeniable, like something heavy had put a hand on the frame. Emma started to whimper.
Daddy, it's on us.
I got out of the truck because my body moved before my brain could vote. Cold air hit my lungs like ice water. The grinding stopped the moment my boots hit dirt. That felt deliberate, like it noticed me. I crouched and looked under the truck. The road was dry, but the shadows under there looked too dense, like the dark had thickened. Nothing obvious. No animal, no branch jammed under the axle, no metal strap hanging loose. But the underside of the truck was smeared with something that looked like wet soot. A streak from front to mid-frame, shiny in spots, like grease mixed with ash. Lauren cracked her window, voice tight.
Evan, get back in.
I stood slowly, eyes locked on the bend and the thin trees. The figure at the tree line hadn't moved closer. The merry-go-round was still turning behind it. A slow, steady signal. I forced logic into the moment. I forced it like a crowbar. Probably a loose heat shield, I lied, loud enough that my ears could hear it. Lauren didn't buy it. Her eyes flicked from me to the road to the clearing.
It turned in daylight.
Emma's face was pale in the back seat.
Don't stand on the circle.
The phrase hit me sideways, Not the merry-go-round. The circle. I looked down at the dirt under my boots, suddenly aware of where I was standing. The road here widened slightly near our drive, creating a hard-packed turnaround spot for deliveries. A rough oval of dirt and gravel, packed and darker than the surrounding road. A loop. A circle. My stomach dropped, because the grinding hadn't come from the engine bay. It had come from beneath the center of the truck, right where the tires sat inside that loop of packed earth, like the ground itself had become the playground platform. Like it didn't need the merry-go-round anymore. Lauren's window lowered another inch.
Evan,
I backed up slowly, stepping out of the packed oval without taking my eyes off the trees. The instant my foot hit looser gravel beyond the loop, the air seemed to thin. My ears popped like pressure changing. The merry-go-round in the distance slowed, not stopping. Just listening. Lauren's voice sharpened.
get in. Now.
I reached for the passenger door handle. The grinding started again. Not under the truck, under my feet. A vibration came up through the dirt like a big machine starting beneath the road. The packed oval darkened, the surface tightening, smoothing, becoming something more uniform than dirt should be. The smell hit next, hot metal and old pennies, like blood on a radiator. I yanked the door open. Lauren shouted Emma's name, and Emma cried out, panicked.
Daddy, don't.
The ground inside the oval flexed, not sinking, bending, like a platform, like the merry-go-round had grown up out of the road, invisible but real. And something heavy had stepped onto it. The truck tilted a fraction, suspension groaning. The grinding became a slow, steady rotation, an unseen circle turning beneath us. In the clearing, the real merry-go-round stopped, like it had handed the job off. The tall shape at the tree line lifted its long, wrong arm, not toward the playground, toward our truck, toward my family. And the packed oval under our tires began to turn. All right, I'm signing off for tonight. If you actually made it to the end, comment spokes, so I know you were really here. Hit like, subscribe, all that stuff, and yeah, share it with someone who'd be into this. And tell me, be honest, would you have tried to drive out right then? Or would you have stayed, just to watch one more full turn? All right, well, see you back for part 2.